and my entire net worth at the moment is exactly $20.37. At the Chandler Weekend Market, under the unforgiving Arizona spring sun. I'm sweating through my work shirt while staring at a silver bracelet like it belongs in a museum. It's gorgeous, delicate, twisted metal with flecks of turquoise that shimmer in the morning light. The tag reads $18. That means I'd be left with just enough for a couple bucks worth of gas to get home. Still, when was the last time I let myself have something beautiful? I reach for it only to see another hand dart out from the left at the very same moment. Our fingers brush against the cool metal and I look up into the bluest eyes I've ever seen. This woman's got golden hair pulled back in some fancy twist, wearing more on her wrist than I make in a month. She's older than me, maybe late 30s, with this confident way of standing that screams money. "Oh, excuse me," she says, but doesn't pull her hand away. Her voice is smooth like expensive whiskey. "No problem. I should let go, should walk away, and buy a sandwich instead." But something about the way she's looking at me makes my feet root to the dusty ground. The vendor, some old guy with paint-stained fingers, glances between us. "Ladies, I got other jewelry if you're both interested." "Actually," the blonde says, still holding my gaze, "I think this belongs to you." She releases the bracelet and steps back. "It matches your eyes perfectly." I blink. My eyes are green. Exactly. She smiles, and damn if it doesn't make my stomach flip. The turquoise brings out the color. This is insane. She's probably got a dozen bracelets at home worth more than my rent. I can't afford it anyway. "Sure you can." She pulls out a crisp 50 and hands it to the vendor. "Keep the change." Before I can protest, she's fastening the bracelet around my wrist. Her fingers are soft against my skin and she smells like jasmine and something else I can't place. Rich girl perfume. Probably costs more than my grocery budget. "I don't even know your name." I manage. "Elena Reyes." She slides a business card into my palm, her touch lingering longer than necessary. "And you're going to call me?" It's not a question. Elena Reyes turns and walks away, her heels clicking against the pavement with purpose. I stand there like an idiot, watching her disappear into the crowd of Saturday morning shoppers. The business card is thick. Expensive stock. Gold lettering that reads Elena Reyes, executive hospitality consultant with a downtown address that's definitely not in my neighborhood. I look down at the bracelet circling my wrist. The silver feels warm now, like it's been waiting for me. The turquoise stones catch the light as I move my hand, and for the first time in months, I feel like maybe I'm worth something beautiful. The vendor grins at me, counting his unexpected windfall. "That's some lady friend you got there." "Friend?" "Right, because women like Elena Reyes make friends with broke landscapers who smell like fertilizer and sweat." I pocket the card and head toward my beat-up truck. But I can't shake the feeling that everything just changed. 20 minutes later, I'm still sitting in the market parking lot, staring at that damn card. 3 days later, I'm elbowed deep in Mr. Peterson's rose garden, cursing under my breath as thorns shred my work gloves. This is my second job today. Already spent 6 hours at the Miller estate trimming hedges that probably cost more than my truck. The Arizona sun's beating down mercilessly and sweat's dripping into my eyes. My phone buzzes. Unknown number. "This is Alex. The bracelet looks lovely on you." That voice smooth as silk, confident as hell. "Elena Reyes. How did you get my number?" "I have my ways." "Are you busy?" I laugh, wiping dirt off my forehead with the back of my hand. "Lady, I'm always busy. Some of us work for a living." Silence. "Damn, that sounded harsher than I meant." "I'd like to hire you," she says finally. "For what?" "Garden consultation. My estate needs attention." The way she says attention makes something flutter in my chest. "Professional, Alex. Keep it professional. My rate's $40 an hour. Minimum 3-hour consultation." "Perfect. Tomorrow at 2. I should say no. Should stick to my regular clients who pay on time and don't make my pulse race. With a simple phone call. But rent's due Friday and I'm short. Fine? Text me the address. That evening, I'm nursing a beer in my studio apartment, staring at Elena's address on my phone. I looked it up. It's in Paradise Valley, where houses start at $2 million and go up from there. What the hell am I walking into? The next afternoon, I'm standing at iron gates that probably cost more than everything I own. The intercom crackles. When I press the button, "Mr. Morgan, please come up." The gates swing open silently, revealing a winding driveway through perfectly manicured grounds. My truck looks ridiculous, crunching up the gravel, but I park right in front of the massive Spanish colonial mansion anyway. Elena opens the door before I can knock. She's wearing white linen pants and a silk blouse that probably costs more than my monthly grocery budget. But it's her smile that stops me cold, warm, genuine. Nothing like the polished socialite from the market. "You came. I said I would." She steps aside and I catch that jasmine scent again as I pass. The foyer's bigger than my entire apartment with tile floors and a chandelier that looks like it belongs in a museum. Impressive place. I manage. It's too much for one person. Something sad flickers across her face. "Come, let me show you the garden." We walk through the house, my work boots echoing on expensive tile. Through floor to ceiling windows, I can see the backyard. If you can call to acres of neglected paradise a backyard. Previous owner was a collector, Elena explains. Sliding open glass doors. Rare plants from all over the world, but I know nothing about maintaining them. The garden's a mess, but a beautiful one. Overgrown bougainvillea cascades over stone walls and exotic plants I can barely identify struggle. In the Arizona heat, there's potential here. Incredible potential. This is amazing. I breathe, walking toward a struggling bird of paradise. These plants are worth a fortune. Can you save them? Most of them, yeah, but it's going to take time and money. Elena steps closer, close enough that I can see golden flecks in her blue eyes. Money's not an issue. Must be nice. It is and it isn't. She reaches out, adjusting the turquoise bracelet on my wrist. Some things can't be bought. The way she's looking at me, the way her fingers linger on my skin. This isn't about gardening anymore. My breath catches as she moves even closer. "Elena, tell me you feel it, too." I should step back, should maintain professional distance. Instead, I find myself leaning into her touch. "This is crazy," I whisper. The best things usually are. Her lips brush mine, soft and tentative. For a moment, the world narrows to just this. Elena's mouth against mine, the scent of jasmine. The warm Arizona afternoon wrapping around us like a promise. When we break apart, I'm breathing hard. That was complicated. I finish. Elena laughs, but there's something vulnerable in her eyes. "Everything good is complicated, Alex." I arrive at Elena's estate the next morning with my truck loaded with soil amendments and fertilizer. The kiss keeps replaying in my head, making me second-guess every decision that led me here. Professional boundaries, Alex. That's what I keep telling myself as I park beside the fountain. Elena meets me at the garden gate wearing designer jeans and a white cotton shirt that probably costs more than my rent. She looks effortlessly elegant while I'm already dusty from loading supplies. "Ready to get your hands dirty?" I ask, trying to sound casual. "Lead the way." We spend the morning working side by side, and I'm surprised by how quickly she picks up the basics. Her manicured hands get filthy as she helps me transplant struggling succulents. But she doesn't complain. There's something refreshing about watching her genuine excitement as we rescue a dying jasmine vine. "This was my grandmother's favorite," Elena says, gently supporting the plant as I work. "She had one just like it in Alabama." "You're not from Arizona, Birmingham originally. Moved here after." She trails off, focusing intently on the plant. "After what?" Complicated family stuff. She straightens, wiping sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand. What about you? Native. Born and raised in Phoenix. Never had the money to leave. Elena's quiet for a moment, and I realize how bitter that sounded. Class differences hanging between us like a wall I can't seem to stop building. By noon, we've worked our way to the greenhouse, a stunning glass structure tucked behind towering oleander bushes. Inside, neglected orchids and tropical plants create a jungle atmosphere. The air is thick and humid, almost intoxicating. This is incredible, I breathe, examining a rare Burmad. Do you know what some of these are worth? Elena steps close, behind me, her hand resting on my lower back. I'm more interested in what you're worth. I turn and she's right there, blue eyes intense in the filtered greenhouse light. The space feels suddenly smaller, charged with something electric. Elena, we shouldn't. Why not? Her fingers trace along my jawline. Because I have money. Because people might talk. Because I don't belong in your world. She laughs softly. But there's sadness in it. Maybe I don't belong in it either. Before I can respond, Hermit's on mine. Hungry and desperate. This time, there's nothing tentative about it. She kisses me like she's drowning, and I'm air. My hands fist in her expensive shirt as she backs me against the potting bench. We're crazy. I gasp against her lips. Absolutely. Her hands slide under my work shirt. Fingers cool against heated skin. I should stop this. Should maintain some semblance of professionalism. But when she looks at me like I'm the most beautiful thing in her perfect world, rational thought abandons me. Time blurs in the greenhouse heat. Clothes fall away among the exotic blooms. Jasmine and promises I'm afraid to believe. She's generous and patient, learning my body like she's studying something precious. When I cry out her name, orchids witness our secrets. Afterward, we lie tangled on my discarded jacket, breathing hard in the humid air. This is insane, I whisper against her shoulder. Elena's fingers play with the turquoise bracelet she gave me. The most beautiful things usually are. Reality crashes back as my phone buzzes. Mr. Peterson expecting me into hours. I have to go. I sit up, suddenly, aware of our naked bodies among $200 plants. Stay. Elena's hand curves around my hip. I'll pay you double whatever he's paying. And there it is, the money again, hanging between us like a blade. It doesn't work that way, I say, pulling on my shirt. I'm not some service you can just buy more of. Elena's face shudders closed. That's not what I meant, isn't it? I stand gathering my scattered clothes. Look at this place, Elena. Look at you. Look at me. We're from different planets. So this was a mistake. The words taste like ash, but I forced them out. A really beautiful mistake. I'm dressed and heading for the door when Elena catches my wrist. Don't do this, Alex. Don't run because you're scared. I'm not scared, but we both know I'm lying. Your bracelet, she says softly. I look down at the silver and turquoise circling my wrist. The first beautiful thing anyone's given me in years. Keep it, Elena whispers. Please. I don't trust myself to speak, so I just nod and walk away. In my truck, I catch sight of myself in the mirror. Hair mussed, lips swollen, smelling like jasmine and secrets. What the hell have I gotten myself into? 3 days pass without contact, and I'm going crazy. Elena's everywhere. In the jasmine scent drifting from my neighbor's garden. In the turquoise bracelet I can't bring myself to remove. In the way my body remembers her touch every damn night. I'm installing sprinklers at the Henderson place when my phone buzzes. Elena's name on the screen makes my heart skip. I need to see you, her voice says. No greeting. Elena, I told you this was a mistake. Meet me at the Dessert Rose Cafe on McDowell. 1 hour. The line goes dead before I can refuse. The dessert rose is a dive bar disguised as a restaurant complete with neon beer signs and sticky floors. Not exactly Elena's scene, which becomes obvious the moment she walks in. Wearing a simple sundress that probably cost more than my truck. Payment. She slides into the cracked vinyl booth across from me, looking completely out of place and absolutely stunning. Interesting choice, she says, glancing round at the other patrons, construction workers, retirees, and people like me who count every dollar. Welcome to my world, I say, sipping my $2 beer. Elena orders wine, and I almost laugh when the bartender brings her house red in a plastic cup. She doesn't even blink, just takes a sip and maintains eye contact with me. I can't stop thinking about you, she says quietly. My stomach flips. Elena, no, listen, I know we're from different places, but that doesn't mean anything. Not to me. Easy for you to say. You've never had to choose between gas money and groceries. She leans forward, her hand covering mine on the scarred table. Then teach me. Show me your world. Why? So you can play dress up poor for a few weeks before going back to Paradise Valley? The hurt that flashes across her face makes me regret the words immediately. That's not fair. Elena says you don't know anything about my life. You're right. All I know is what I see. The mansion, the perfect clothes. The way you throw money around like it doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter when you're lonely enough to die. The raw pain in her voice stops my defensive anger cold. Elena staring at her wine. Vulnerability written across her features. I'm sorry, I say softly. That was cruel, but not wrong. She looks up, blue eyes bright with unshed tears. I have everything anyone could want, and I've never been more empty in my life. Before I can respond, she's sliding out of the booth. Come on, your turn to show me something real. We end up at Mika's food truck, parked in a vacant lot downtown. Elena follows my lead, ordering street tacos from Mika themselves. A 60-year-old Mexican person with calloused hands and the best carnitas in Phoenix. To regulars, I tell them in broken Spanish. Alex, you bring a friend. Mika grins at Elena, who smiles back genuinely. We sit on plastic chairs under string lights, eating $5 tacos that Elena declares better than any restaurant she's been to. Her enthusiasm seems real, not condescending, and some of my walls start crumbling. See that building? I point to a rundown apartment complex across the street. 3rd floor. Corner unit. That's where I grew up. Elena follows my gaze. Tell me about it. Mom worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. I learned to cook when I was 8 because she was never home. Got my first job at 14, lying about my age. Where's your mom now? Cancer took her 3 years ago. Medical bills ate everything she'd saved. Elena's quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry. Don't be. She did her best with what she had. I meet her eyes. That's what real people do, Elena. We don't have trust funds or safety nets. We just keep fighting. You think I don't fight? Something in her tone makes me look closer. Beneath the perfect exterior, there's steel in Elena Reyes. What do you fight? I ask. Expectations, family legacy. The assumption that having money means I don't get to want things for myself. We walk to her car afterward, an elegant BMW that looks absurd parked beside Mika's truck. Elena leans against the driver's door, and suddenly the space between us feels charged again. This is crazy, I whisper. The best things usually are. She echoes her words from the greenhouse. When she kisses me this time, it's different, softer, more questioning. Like she's asking permission instead of taking what she wants. My hands frame her face, and I taste wine and possibility on her lips. I want to try, she says against my mouth. If you'll let me try what? This, us, whatever this is. I think about all the reasons it won't work, all the ways we're wrong for each other. Then I look into her blue eyes and see something I recognize. Loneliness, hope, the desperate need to matter to someone else. Okay, I breathe. But we do this my way sometimes. Your world, my world, somewhere in between. Elena's smile could light up downtown Phoenix. Deal, she kisses me again. And this time I don't think about differences or complications. I just think about the woman in my arms who tastes like jasmine and promises. Who looks at me like I'm worth fighting for. Maybe we are crazy. But maybe that's exactly what we both need. For 2 weeks, we've been living in this strange bubble of stolen moments and secret phone calls. Elena meets me at dive bars. I teach her to fix a leaky faucet, and somehow we make it work. She's nothing like I expected. Funnier, more genuine, willing to get her hands dirty in ways that have nothing to do with money. I'm finishing up at the Miller Estate, already looking forward to seeing Elena tonight. When I hear car doors slamming at her place next door, through the hedge, I catch glimpses of a black sedan and shouting voices. Something's wrong. I abandon my tools and jog over using the gate code Elena gave me last week. The front door is wide open, and angry voices echo from inside. You can't just show up here, Christina. Elena's voice, but strained in a way I've never heard. I step into the foyer and freeze. Elena's facing a tall woman in an expensive suit. Dark hair, sharp features, everything about her screaming wealth and entitlement. But what stops me cold is the little boy clinging to her hand. He's maybe 8 years old with Elena's blonde hair and blue eyes. The resemblance is unmistakable. Mommy, the boy says, and my world tilts sideways. Mommy. Elena has a son, Leo. Sweetheart. Elena's voice breaks as she kneels down. You've grown so much. The woman, Christina, notices me standing there like an idiot. Her eyes narrow, taking in my work clothes and dirt-stained hands. And you are? Alex Morgan. I'm the landscaper. Elena's face goes white. Christina, this isn't the time, isn't it? She smirks. But it's cold as winter, Leo. Why don't you go explore? Your mother and I need to chat with the help. The little boy hesitates, looking between all the adults with confusion and fear. Elena nods encouragingly, and Leo wanders toward the living room. What do you want? Christina. Elena stands, composing herself with visible effort. What's mine? What the court awarded me. She pulls out legal documents. Full custody. Remember, boarding school was temporary until I could provide a stable home environment. He's been at school for 3 years, Elena says quietly. You've barely visited because you made it clear he wasn't welcome in your lifestyle. Her gaze flicks to me meaningfully. Things change. My new husband wants children around. New husband? I feel like I'm drowning in information I was never supposed to know. Elena, I say slowly. We should talk later, she says without looking at me. All her attention on Christina. Actually, now's perfect. Christina's smile is predatory. Ms. Morgan should understand what she's gotten involved with. Elena is not exactly parent material. Shut up. Elena snaps. Tell her about the neglect charges. Tell her why Leo's been living away from home since he was 5. Elena's composure cracks. Completely. I was sick, Christina. You know I was sick. Alcoholism isn't an excuse for abandoning your child. The words hit Elena like physical blows. She staggers backward and I step forward instinctively, wanting to shield her from whatever poison this woman is spilling. Get out, I say. Christina laughs. Excuse me. You heard me. Take your legal papers and get the hell out. This is my daughter we're discussing, bull. If she was really your priority, you wouldn't be using her as a weapon. His face darkens. I don't think you understand the situation. Miss Morgan. Elena has a history of poor judgment in men, in friends, in life choices generally. The court agreed she's unfit. I look at Elena, seeing her differently now, but not less. Her struggles, her loneliness, her desperate need to matter to someone. It all makes terrible sense. Everyone makes mistakes, I say quietly. Some mistakes cost children their stability. Leo reappears in the doorway, clutching a stuffed rabbit. Daddy, when are we going home? The word daddy from Elena's daughter's mouth makes Elena flinch visibly. Christina's expression softens as she looks at Leo. Soon. Princess Daddy just needs to finish talking to Mommy. Can Mommy come, too? Silence stretches between the adults, while an 8-year-old waits for an answer that will break somebody's heart. No matter what, we'll see, sweetheart, Christina says finally. Elena kneels down again, her hands shaking as she touches Leo's face. Be good for Daddy, okay? Mommy loves you so much. I know. Leo hugs her briefly, then skips back to Christina. We'll be in touch about visitation, she says, gathering Leo's things. And Elena, I'd be careful about your associations. The court looks unfavorably on unstable influences. She's talking about me, about us. After they leave, Elena and I stand in her enormous foyer, silence stretching between us like a chasm. She won't meet my eyes. You have a daughter, I say finally. Had I had a daughter, Elena, don't. Her voice is raw. Don't say whatever you're thinking. What I'm thinking is that you should have told me. She laughs bitterly, right? Because that would have made this so much easier. It would have made it honest. Now she looks at me, and the pain in her eyes is devastating. Would you have stayed if you'd known? If you'd known I was the kind of mother who loses her child, who drinks herself unconscious, while her 5-year-old makes her own dinner? I don't know, I answer truthfully. Exactly. Elena walks toward the window, staring out at the garden we worked on together. I've been sober for 2 years, Alex. 2 years of trying to become someone worthy of getting her back. And now what? Now she wins because I'm involved with someone like you. And the court will see that as another poor choice. Someone like me. The words sting more than they should. Someone like me. I repeat. That's not what I meant. Yes, it is. I head for the door, my chest tight with hurt and anger. You're right, Elena. We are from different worlds and apparently mine isn't good enough for yours. Alex, wait. But I'm already gone. Walking away from Jasmine and promises and the sound of a woman calling my name. I throw myself into work like a woman possessed. 12-hour days, back-to-back clients. Anything to keep Elena and her blue-eyed daughter out of my head. It's been 5 days since I walked out, and my phone's full of messages I refuse to listen to. Mr. Peterson corners me by his rose bushes, wearing that concerned expression. Older women perfect after decades of watching disasters unfold. Honey, you look terrible, Lou. Just tired. I attack a stubborn weed with unnecessary violence. That rich lady called here looking for you. Said you weren't answering your phone. My hands still. What did you tell her? That you were busy. But Alex Sugar, maybe you should hear what she has to say. I shake my head, ripping up another weed. Some things are better left buried. Meanwhile, Elena is falling apart in her mansion. I know because Mika tells me when I stopped by his truck Thursday night. Your lady friend came by yesterday, he says, handing me carnita tacos. Looked like hell warmed over. She's not my lady friend. Mika raises an eyebrow. She ordered 10 tacos and didn't eat any. Just sat there crying into plastic containers. Damn it. Not my problem, I mutter. But the words taste like Ash Friday. Afternoon. I'm finishing irrigation repairs when Elena appears at the Miller estate. She looks exactly like Mika described. Hollowed, thinner, wearing yesterday's clothes like she forgot how to take care of herself. We need to talk. She says, I'm working in Alex. Please, Miller chooses that moment to emerge from his house. Taking one look at Elena and immediately switching into protective mode. Is there a problem here? No, sir, I say quickly. Miss Reyes was just leaving. Elena flinches at the dismissal, but doesn't move. Christina filed for emergency custody. The hearing's Monday. My hands freeze on the sprinkler head. What does that have to do with me? She's using you. US as evidence I'm unfit. Elena's voice cracks. Says, I'm corrupting influences around my daughter. Mr. Miller makes a disgusted sound. Women like that make me sick. Sir, I really need to finish this job, I say. But my conviction's wavering. Elena steps closer, and I catch that jasmine scent that's haunted my dreams all week. I know what I said was wrong. I know I hurt you. She's crying now, not caring that Mr. Miller's watching. But I can't lose her again. Alex, I can't. Then fight for her. How? She has lawyers, money, a perfect nuclear family. What do I have? You have love. Love doesn't win custody battles. Mr. Miller steps between us, studying Elena with sharp eyes. You're the mother, he says finally. Yes, sir. Then you fight like one. Get yourself a good lawyer. Clean up your act and show that court you die before letting anyone hurt your baby. Elena nods through her tears. I'm trying, but she's right about one thing. I made mistakes, terrible ones. We all have, Mr. Miller says firmly. Question is what you do after. That evening, Elena shows up at my apartment uninvited. I open the door to find her holding a bottle of wine and looking determined. I'm not drinking, she says before I can speak. Haven't had a drop in over 2 years, but I thought you might want some while I gravel. Despite everything, I almost smile. Pretty sure of yourself. Desperate, actually. I let her in because I'm weak and because she looks like shit. Since I walked out, my apartment suddenly feels tiny with her in it. All expensive perfume and nervous energy. Nice place, she lies, glancing around my studio. Elena, what do you want? She sits on my lumpy couch, hands clasped in her lap like a schoolgirl. I want to tell you about Leo's father, about why I lost him. You don't owe me explanations. Yes, I married Christina right out of college. She was everything my family wanted. Candy with the right pedigree. I pour myself wine and settle into my only chair, waiting. When Leo was that I'd finally matter for something besides looking I started drowning. She looks up, and the pain in her eyes is devastating. Function during the day. Numb myself at night until the day I passed out and Leo wandered outside alone. Neighbors called social services. My chest tightens, imagining 5-year-old Leo, confused and scared. Christina used it against me in court, painted me as an unstable drunk who endangered our child. Judge agreed. Elena is crying again. I haven't had custody in 3 years. But you got sober. Too little, too late. And now she's threatening to cut off all visitation if I don't stay away from this. The real reason she's here. So this is goodbye. I say. Elena stands abruptly, crossing to where I sit. Before I can protest, she's kneeling beside my chair, hands framing my face. This is me choosing you anyway. Her mouth finds mine, desperate and hungry. I taste salt from her tears and something deeper. Need, hope. The kind of reckless courage that comes from having nothing left to lose. Elena, stop. I whisper against her lips. I can't. Her hands slide into my hair. I can't lose you, too. You might lose everything. I already have. When she kisses me again, I stop fighting. Stop thinking about consequences and custody battles and the dozens of ways this will end badly. Elena's skin is warm against mine as clothes disappear. And, for this moment, Monday morning arrives like a death sentence. Elena's custody hearing is at 10 o'clock and I'm supposed to be installing sprinklers at the Garcia place. Instead, I'm sitting in my truck outside the courthouse watching well-dressed people with briefcases hurry up granite steps. I shouldn't be here. This isn't my fight. But I can't stop thinking about Saturday night in my apartment. Elena's whispered confessions. The way she held on to me like I was her lifeline. The desperate courage in her voice when she said she was choosing me anyway. My phone buzzes. Text from Elena. Don't come. Christina's expecting you. Stay away. Too late for that. Inside the courthouse smells like old wood and broken dreams. I look younger and more vulnerable. Christina is across the team, a blonde woman in pearls who must be the new wife. And Leo, the little boy, looks confused and small. His head urgently. What are you doing here? Something's best. Christina notices me. Her smile is predatory as she approaches. Ms. Williams. How unexpected. Mr. Walsh. I thought Elena would have more sense than to bring her girlfriend to a custody. But I stepped forward. She didn't bring me up to do that. She's been sober for 2 years, every day to become the mother Leo deserves. She loves that little boy more than her own life. And you base this assessment on what? Your extensive experience with child welfare. Heat flares in my chest. I base it on knowing what real love looks like, what sacrifice looks like, what fighting for something that matters looks like. Elena's hand finds mine, squeezing tight. How touching, Christina says. Does your expertise extend to appropriate role models for 8-year-olds? Appropriate like using your son as a weapon, like threatening to cut off his relationship with his mother because you don't approve of who Elena loves. Christina's face darkens. Elena made her choices. Actions have consequences. Yeah, they do. And someday Leo's going to be old enough to understand exactly what you took from him. Reyes versus Walsh. A bailiff calls. Court's in session. The courtroom's smaller than I expected. All dark wood and intimidating formality. Elena's lawyer, a sharp woman in her 50s, presents a compelling case. 2 years sober, regular therapy, stable home environment, character witnesses. Then Christina's team takes over. They paint Elena as unstable, impulsive, a danger to her son's emotional well-being. They reference her inappropriate relationship with a woman of questionable background. They suggest she's using Leo as an accessory to appear more maternal. Each word hits Elena like a physical blow. I watch her shrinking into herself, believing every cruel assessment. When the judge asks if there are any additional witnesses, I stand up. Your Honor, I'd like to speak. Elena's lawyer looks panicked. Christina smirks. The judge raises an eyebrow. And you are Alex Morgan. Morgan. This isn't appropriate, Elena's lawyer whispers. Your Honor, I continue. I've heard a lot about Elena's mistakes, but I haven't heard anyone talk about her courage. Proceed. My hands are shaking, but I look at Leo sitting beside the social worker and find my voice. Elena Reyes needs to get better. Not for her reputation, not for appearances, but because she wanted to be worthy of loving her son. Christina. The judge waves her silent. I work with wealthy families every day. I continue. I see how they treat their children like trophies, their wives like decorations. That's not Elena. She talks about Leo like he hung the moon. Shows me pictures, like other people show off Olympic medals. Elena's crying silently, but she's sitting straighter. You want to know what kind of mother she is. She's the kind who chooses her child's happiness over her own comfort. Who fights for visitation rights even when it breaks her heart. Who spent 3 years becoming someone worthy of unconditional love. I take a breath, addressing the judge directly. Elena made mistakes, but she's not making them anymore. And Leo deserves to know the woman his mother's become, not just the woman she used to be. The courtroom's quiet when I sit down. Elena reaches for my hand. her fingers ice cold. "Thank you," she whispers. The judge deliberates for 20 minutes that feel like 20 years. When she returns, her expression gives nothing away. This case involves complex family dynamics and a mother's journey toward rehabilitation. While Ms. Walsh provides a stable traditional home, the court recognizes that children benefit from relationships with both parents. When safe and appropriate, my heart pounds as she continues. "Miss Reyes, I'm granting you supervised visitation to begin immediately with extended custody in 6 months contingent on continued sobriety and stability." Elena collapses against me, sobbing with relief. It's not full custody, but it's hope. Christina looks furious, but her lawyer's already whispering damage control in her ear. Outside the courthouse, Elena pulls me into an empty alcove and kisses me fiercely. "I can't believe you did that," she gasps against my mouth. "Neither can I. You called yourself my partner." "Yeah, problem with that." Her smile could light up the entire downtown. "Not even a little." "Leo is Mom's girlfriend?" he asks with 8-year-old directness. "Exchange glances?" "Something like that," I tell him. "Do you like gardens?" Mom says. "You know about plants?" "I love gardens. Maybe sometime you'd like to learn about them, too." Leo nods enthusiastically before being reclaimed by the social worker. Elena leans against the courthouse wall, watching her son walk away. 6 months, she says quietly. 6 months. I agree. Think you can stay out of trouble that long? With you watching over me? Probably not. I kiss her again, tasting hope and jasmine, and the promise of something real. 3 months after the custody hearing, Elena's mansion feels like a different place. Gone has transformed the house into something resembling an actual home. I'm teaching them both tomatoes garden we carved out behind the pool house. Ponytail as he digs enthusiastically in the rich soil. "Like this, Alex?" he asks, carefully placing a seedling. "Perfect. Now pack the soil gently round the roots." Elena kneels beside us, her designer jeans already stained with dirt. She's gotten better at this. The getting messy part, the being present part, the letting herself matter to someone who isn't keeping score. "Mom, look how big this one is." Leo holds up a tomato plant nearly as tall as he is. "That's going to feed us all summer," Elena says, and the pride in her voice makes my chest tight with something warm. The supervised visits have gone unaffected. Leo's social worker, a kind man named James, barely intervenes anymore. He mostly sits on the patio reading while we work in the garden or play board games inside. "Miss Reyes has made remarkable progress," James told me last week. "Leo's comfortable here, happy." That happiness is obvious now as Leo chatters about school while we work. He's a smart kid, curious about everything with Elena's determination and Christina's stubborn streak. "Can I sleep over this weekend?" he asks suddenly. Elena and I exchange glances. Overnight visits aren't part of the current arrangement. We'll have to check with James. Elena says carefully. "And your mother?" Leo's face falls slightly, but he nods. Even at 8, he understands the complicated rules governing his life. That evening, after James takes Leo back to Christina's, Elena and I sit on the patio drinking iced tea and watching sunset paint the desert sky. Pink and gold. "The custody review's in 3 months, Elena says quietly. "I know. Think we'll pass." I study her profile. In the fading light, she's gained weight since the hearing. Looks healthier, more solid. The constant tension around her eyes has eased, replaced by something like peace. "Yeah, I think we will." Elena turns to me, and there's something vulnerable in her expression. "I never thanked you properly for what you did in court. You don't need to thank me." "Yes, I do," She reaches for my hand, fingers interlacing with mine. You stood up for me when I couldn't stand up for myself. You saw something in me worth defending. I saw the woman I'm falling in love with fighting for what matters most. The words slip out before I can stop them. We've been dancing around the L word for months, both too scared to be the first to say it. Elena's breath catches. Falling. Fallen, I correct quietly. Past tense. Completely gone. Her smile starts slow and spreads like sunrise. Good, because I've been in love with you since the day you told Christina Walsh to go to hell. She kisses me then, soft and sweet in the gathering darkness. We've kissed hundreds of times since that first day in the greenhouse, but this one feels different, like a promise instead of a question. Move in with me, Elena whispers against my lips. What? Not to the main house, the guest cottage. It's bigger than your apartment, and you're here half the time anyway. I pull back to look at her. Elena, if we're living together and something goes wrong with the custody case, then we'll deal with it together. Her thumb traces along my jawline. I'm tired of being afraid, Alex. Tired of letting other people's opinions dictate my choices. The guest cottage is a small Spanish-style house tucked between the main residence and the garden. Elena's been using it for storage, but it has good bones, exposed beams, tile floors, a cozy kitchen that overlooks the pool. I could be happy here, I admit, standing in the living room while Elena watches hopefully from the doorway. Is that a yes? It's a yes. Elena launches herself into my arms and we tumble onto the dust-covered couch laughing. She tastes like iced tea and happiness when she kisses me, her hands already working at the buttons of my work shirt. Careful. The storm outside clawed at the glass like it wanted in. Thunder cracked over Manhattan as if the sky itself were angry. But Cassandra Cass Vance off bare walls that will soon be ours. Afterward, we lie tangled together, planning our shared future. Leo's going to love having you so close, Elena says, fingers tracing lazy patterns on my shoulder. Do you think he'll be okay with us living together? Are you kidding? He's been asking when you're going to marry his mom. I laugh. Kids don't filter anything. Speaking of which, Elena props herself up on one elbow, suddenly nervous. Christina called yesterday. She wants to discuss reducing the supervision requirements. My pulse quickens. That's good news, right? I think so. James recommended it in his report. He says, Leo's thriving with our current arrangement. So, what's the catch? Elena's quiet for a long moment. No catch. I think Christina is actually ready to do what's best for Leo instead of what hurts me most. People change, I say softly. Some people. She kisses my forehead. The good ones anyway. That night, I pack my few belongings while Elena rearranges furniture in the cottage. It doesn't take long. After years of living paycheck to paycheck, I travel light. But Elena treats each item like treasure, finding perfect spots for my books, hanging my single decent dress in the spacious closet. This is really happening, I say, watching her fold my work clothes into expensive drawers. Having second thoughts, never. The next morning, Leo arrives for his Wednesday visit to find me making breakfast in the cottage kitchen. His eyes go wide with delight. You live here now. I live here now. He throws his arms around my waist, squeezing tight. This is the best day ever. Elena appears in the doorway, coffee mug in hand, watching us with soft eyes. Come on, you two, she says. Let's go see how our tomatoes are growing. Walking to the garden with Elena and Leo, I feel something I haven't experienced in years. The sense of belonging somewhere, of mattering to people who matter to me. Maybe love isn't about finding someone from your own world. Maybe it's about building a new world together. One day at a time, one planted seed at a time. Spring returns to Chandler like a promise kept. 6 months have passed since I moved into the cottage, and Elena's custody review is behind us, successful beyond our wildest hopes. Leo now lives with us for days a week, sharing time between his old life and this new one we've built together. The garden we planted through fall and winter has exploded into bloom. Tomatoes hang heavy on the vine, herbs perfume the morning air, and the flower beds Elena and I designed together paint the landscape in impossible colors. Alex, come see. Leo calls from beside the fountain where we've been working on a special project all morning. I walk over to find him carefully arranging the last of the spring bulbs we planted in December. Tulips, daffodils, and hyacinths create a rainbow circle around the old fountain's base. It's perfect, kiddo. Elena emerges from the house carrying a tray of lemonade, wearing a sundress that shows off the tan she's developed from hours in the garden. She looks healthy, grounded, nothing like the brittle socialite I met at the antique market a year ago. Everyone, refreshment break, she announces. We sit in the shade of the ramada we built last month, watching bees work the lavender borders. Leo chatters about his school's science project while Elena and I exchange the kind of looks. Long-term, couples perfect, secret smiles, shared understanding. The comfortable intimacy of two people who've chosen each other every day for months. Mom, tell Alex about your surprise, Leo says suddenly. Elena nearly chokes on her lemonade. Leo, what surprise? I ask, immediately suspicious. It's not ready yet, Elena protests, but she's fighting a smile. Leo bounces in his chair. She bought something big. Elena sighs in defeat, reaching into her pocket to pull out a set of keys. I was going to wait until everything was finalized, but she hands me the keys and I turn them over in my palm, confused. Elena, what is this? Come on, she says, standing and pulling me to my feet. I'll show you. We pile into Elena's car and drive downtown, Leo chattering excitedly from the back seat. Elena parks outside a familiar building, the old warehouse that houses the weekend antique market where we first met. Why are we here? I ask. Elena's grinning now, unable to contain her excitement. Look at the sign. I follow her gaze to a new placard beside the entrance. Reyes Morgan Market, opening spring 2024. My heart stops. Elena, what did you do? Bought the building. All of it. She's practically bouncing on her toes. The market vendors can stay, but I thought we could expand, add a garden center, maybe a cafe, something that's ours. Are you insane? Do you know how much work that would be? I know, but I also know you've always wanted to run your own landscaping business instead of working for other people. And I know I want to do something meaningful instead of just managing other people's parties. Leo tugs on my hand. There's more. Show her the other surprise. Elena leads us through the market to the back of the building, where vendors are already packing up for the day. In the corner, at the exact spot where we first met, sits a small display case. Inside, nestled on black velvet, is a collection of vintage jewelry. And there, right in the center, is a silver bracelet identical to the one circling my wrist. The jeweler who made yours had a whole collection, Elena explained softly. I bought them all for our first customers who find each other here. I stare at the display, overwhelmed by the poetry of it. You're going to give away matching bracelets to couples, to people who find something worth keeping, Elena corrects. Love, friendship, second chances, whatever they need to find. Leo's watching us both with bright eyes. Like you and Mom found each other. Exactly like that, Elena says. But she's looking at me. I turn the keys over in my palm, feeling their weight. This is crazy. The best things usually are. Elena echoes the words that have become our motto. We don't know anything about running a market. market. We'll look. It could fail spectacularly. It could succeed spectacularly. I look around the space that brought us together, imagining it filled with our dreams instead of just other people's discarded treasures. The storm outside clawed at like it wanted in. Occupy the corner by the main entrance. There's room for workshops, events, maybe even wedding receptions among the plants and vintage finds. There's something else, Elena says quietly. Something I need to ask you. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a small velvet box. My breath catches as she drops to one knee right there, in the middle of the antique market with vendors packing around. U.S. and Leo clasping his hands in delight. Alex Morgan, Elena says, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. Will you marry me? The box opens to reveal a simple silver band set with turquoise stones that match our bracelets perfectly. Around us, the market has gone quiet. Vendors and late shoppers alike have stopped to watch, smiling at this unexpected romance unfolding in their midst. Elena, I whisper, I know we're from different worlds. I know it's complicated and messy and probably crazy, but I also know that you're the best thing that ever happened to me. You and Leo, you're my family, my real family. Leo bounces beside us. Say yes, Alex, please say yes. I look down at Elena, among the dust and memories of a dozen Saturday mornings, offering me not just her heart, but a future built on shared dreams. Yes, I breathe. Of course. Yes. She slides the ring onto my finger as the market erupts in applause. Strangers cheer and whistle while Elena kisses me among the antiques and possibilities. I love you, she whispers against my lips. I love you, too, both of you. Leo launches himself at us, and we tumble into a three-way hug right there on the dusty floor, laughing and crying and planning our beautiful, complicated future. Later, as sunset paints the desert sky in shades of rose and gold, we plant a new tree in our garden, a small oak that will grow strong and deep-rooted, sheltering future generations with its shade. Make a wish, Elena tells Leo as we pat soil around the sapling's base. I wish we could stay like this forever, Leo says solemnly. Forever is a long time, I tell him, but we can try for every day. Elena's hand finds mine, our matching rings catching the last light. In 9 months, we'll open Reyes Morgan Market and discover that love stories have a way of attracting more love stories. The cafe will become a gathering place for couples celebrating anniversaries, families planning reunions, friends finding their way back to each other. But tonight, it's just us three and a garden full of promises, planting roots in the Arizona desert and believing in tomorrow.
What would you do if the first face you saw after waking from a coma?
The storm outside clawed at glass like it wanted in. Thunder cracked over Manhattan as if the sky itself were angry. But Cassandra Cass Vance didn't flinch. 50 floors above the world, she sat in silence behind a desk bigger than most apartments, framed by windows that bled rain and power. She didn't need the weather to tell her today was going to be hell. It already was. A small red folder lay unopened in front of her. She knew what was in it. She'd been warned by her board, her assistant, her lawyer, even her therapist. Not that she listened to any of them. She never had. But this was different. This wasn't just business. This was war. And the name inside that folder, it was a trigger. One word, 5 letters, and everything she'd buried deep began to rise like a ghost. She couldn't outrun Jasmine. She declined 3 times before finally agreeing, said Sloane, her assistant, hovering near the door with nervous energy. She's in high demand, the council insisted. Of course, they did, Cassandra said flatly, voice like glass. She's the golden girl. What did they promise her? Sloane hesitated. Full creative control. Cassandra laughed once. bitter and sharp. Then she's a fool. She'll drown here. She lands into ours. I scheduled the meeting for this afternoon. Cancel it. I can't. Sloane looked genuinely scared now. They made it very clear. If he refused to meet with her, they'll take it as non-compliance and initiate the merger. Silence stretched like a blade between them. Cassandra's jaw clenched. Her hands curled into fists on the armrests of the sleek obsidian wheelchair. She hadn't left in nearly 3 years. They all thought she was weak now. The board, the media, the investors. A once invincible business tycoon brought low by a car crash, a spinal cord, and a secret no one knew. But she wasn't weak. She was angry, and anger had always been her favorite fuel. Still, Jasmine. That name was more dangerous than any hostile takeover. Hey, if you're enjoying this story, go ahead and drop a like to help us grow even more. And let me know in the comments on a scale from 0 to 10. What score would you give this story so far? Your feedback makes all the difference. Because Jasmine Jazzcroft wasn't just an ex. She was the one that got away and set the whole place on fire on her way out. Flashback 6 years ago. Paris. Moonlight through the floor-to-ceiling windows of a penthouse hotel. Champagne still fizzing and glasses untouched. Cassandra, 27, arrogant, brilliant, and reckless, leaning against the piano, with a smirk that said she could buy the city if she wanted to. And Jasmine, 24, loud, idealistic, too smart to be that naive, standing in a red dress that would haunt Cassandra for years. You don't love anything that doesn't benefit you. Jasmine had whispered that night, voice trembling as she walked away. And you don't know how to survive unless you're hurting someone. Cassandra had replied coldly just before the door slammed. They hadn't seen each other since. Not through scandals, interviews, whispers. Jasmine had become a legend in her own right. A branding prodigy, the face behind viral revolutions. The strategist who reimagined the political landscape for 3 countries and counting. And now, for some reason, she was coming here to New York to her. The thought made Cassandra's skin buzz with something that wasn't quite rage and wasn't quite longing. It was too complicated, too dangerous, too late. Or so she told herself. 3 hours later, when the elevator pinged and the glass doors opened, Cassandra looked up and saw her. Jasmine hadn't changed, and that was the problem. Same impossible cheekbones, same confident stride, same eyes that looked at her like they saw everything, especially the things she wanted hidden. She wore black, sleek and perfect, her coat catching in the wind like something cinematic. "Hello, Cassandra," she said, stepping into the office like she owned it, still hiding behind glass and steel. "I see." Cassandra didn't smile, didn't blink, still chasing her ego across continents. "I see." Jasmine's mouth curled slightly. "At least, I stand when I chase it." The silence after that was brutal. The air between them crackled, not just with the tension of old wounds, but something else. Heat, unresolved and sharp. "If you're here to fix my image," Cassandra said icily, "you've wasted a flight. I'm not interested in being marketable." "That's good," Jasmine replied, dropping her coat on a chair without asking. "Because I'm not here to fix anything. I'm here to take control." Cassandra's eyes narrowed. "Try it. I dare you." Jasmine leaned forward, hands on the desk. "I'm not afraid of you, Cassandra. I never was." "Then you're a fool." "No. I just know you better than anyone else ever did." Cassandra's throat tightened. Her fingers dug into the chair's leather. She hated how much that sentence felt like a threat. Or a promise. Or both. "You'll be gone in a week," she muttered. "We'll see," Jasmine whispered, already turning toward the window, her silhouette framed by lightning. And Cassandra realized something that chilled her to the bone. Jasmine wasn't here to fix Donovan Industries. She was here to finish what they started. Or maybe, just maybe, started all over again. The silence between them lingered long after Jasmine turned away from the window. It wasn't the comfortable kind, the type that falls between people who know each other so intimately they no longer need words. No, this was loaded, tense, lethal, the kind of silence that comes after betrayal. And just before war, Jasmine's heels clicked softly on the marble floor as she circled the office, eyes skimming across the artwork, the polished shelves, the hollow luxury that screamed power but lacked warmth. Cassandra's world was all control and curation. Still, she hadn't changed. Not on the outside. You redecorated, Jasmine said casually, trailing her fingers along the edge of a sculpture worth more than most houses. You didn't. Cassandra's voice was cool, but her jaw flexed. You're still arrogant enough to think this is your stage. And you're still cold enough to pretend you don't care who steps onto it. Jasmine turned slowly, eyes sharp. But I know better. Cassandra's stare was unflinching. You don't know me anymore. I know who you were, Jasmine said, walking toward her now. And I know how much of that woman still lives in you, even if she hides behind titanium and denial. Cassandra flinched inwardly, but refused to show it. If this is your idea of branding strategy, it's pathetic. This is my idea of setting boundaries, Jasmine replied. Because if we're doing this, there are rules. This isn't a relationship, Jasmine. It's business. That's rule one then, Jasmine said, stepping closer. Too close. We don't pretend it's just business. Cassandra's breath caught just for a second. Her chair gave her the illusion of distance. But the truth was Jasmine's presence still hit her like a storm. Her scent, her confidence, the way she looked at her like she was both challenge and temptation. It made everything harder. Cassandra wasn't used to feeling small, but around Jasmine, she always had, not because of weakness, but because of truth. You were supposed to stay in Paris, Cassandra muttered, voice low, almost bitter. You were supposed to disappear. Funny, Jasmine said, tilting her head. You supposed to care enough to come after me. The words landed like a slap. Cassandra swallowed it down. She wouldn't give Jasmine the satisfaction of knowing how close she was to the truth. I had more important things to deal with, she said. Clearly. Jasmine's gaze dropped intentionally to the wheels of Cassandra's chair. It wasn't cruel. It was curious, honest. Like she wasn't afraid to look at the part of Cassandra that no one else dared acknowledge. You didn't even call, she added softly. When the news broke. When they said you might never walk again. Not once. Cassandra's eyes darkened. I didn't need your pity. It wasn't pity. Jasmine whispered. It was rage that wouldn't let me be there. That you still thought I was the enemy. Cassandra's lips tightened. You were. I left because I loved you. Jasmine snapped, her voice cracking for the first time. Because I knew you'd choose power over us. And I couldn't watch you destroy yourself chasing something that was never going to fill the void. Don't pretend it was noble, Cassandra said, her tone sharp now. You left because it was easier than staying. No, Jasmine said, her eyes suddenly glassy. I left because I was already gone. You pushed me out one cold moment at a time. You made it impossible to stay. A heavy silence fell again, but this time it was different, softer, more dangerous. Cassandra turned her chair slightly, angling herself away as if that would protect her from the past crawling back in. You said you were here for control, so take it. Do what you need to do. Just stay out of my way. I'm not here to sabotage you, Jasmine said. But I'm not here to save you either. You don't want that. You never did. No one can save me, Cassandra said quietly. Not anymore. Jasmine has stared at her for a long time. You think your legs are the only thing that stopped working? You haven't let anyone close in years. Cassandra didn't answer. She couldn't. Jasmine moved toward the table now, pulling out her tablet, shifting effortlessly into professional mode. But the air was still charged, the tension unresolved. The brand is hemorrhaging, she said, tapping through data. Your name still holds. Wait, but the public sees you as untouchable, cold, inhuman. Good, Cassandra replied. That's the point. No, it's the problem. No one roots for a machine. Cassandra, they root for people, for pain, for truth. You want this company to survive. Then we show them yours. Cassandra stared at her. You want to market my trauma? No. I want to rehumanize your myth. Same thing. Not if you let it be real. And what's real to you, Jasmine? Jasmine looked up right now. U.S. standing here talking for the first time in 6 years. You glaring at me like you want to kill me and kiss me in the same breath. Cassandra blinked, a flush crawling up her neck before she could stop it. You're delusional. No, Jasmine said, walking closer again until she was standing right in front of her. I just remember everything. The way you'd breathe against my neck when you were too proud to say you missed me. The way you'd fall asleep after sex, but only when I was the one touching you. The way you hated vulnerability unless it came from me. Cassandra looked up, heart pounding, trying to find a place to hide inside herself and failing. That version of me is gone. No, Jasmine whispered, leaning down just enough to be dangerous. She's still here. She's just scared. And for once, I don't think you should be. A knock at the door broke the moment. Sloane poked her head in oblivious. Miss Croft, your team has arrived. They're setting up downstairs. Jasmine straightened, voice smooth. Tell them I'll be down in 5. When the door closed again, she looked back at Cassandra. This time, I'm not here to fall in love with a ghost. If you want me around, you better show me there's still a woman under the armor. You're not getting back in, Jasmine, Cassandra said, even as her voice wavered. I don't need to get back in, Jasmine said, walking toward the door. I never really left. And then she was gone. And Cassandra, for the first time in 3 years, realized she could still feel her legs, not because they were moving, but because something deep inside her had started to ache. The conference room on the 32nd floor was a cathedral of steel and glass. Cold, pristine, intimidating, just like Cassandra liked it, or used to now. As she watched Jasmine command the room with every calculated word, every confident stride, she wasn't so sure anymore. Jasmine's team moved like an extension of her. Stylists, branding analysts, social media strategists, photographers. They had swarmed the floor in less than 20 minutes, reconfiguring white bars, pinning mood boards, drawing timelines on transparent panels. It was efficient, merciless, impressive. But all Cassandra could focus on was her. We'll start with image reclamation, Jasmine said, gesturing toward a timeline. No rebranding. Donovan is too powerful a name, but we need a narrative pivot. We shift from untouchable billionaire to misunderstood survivor. Power redefined through pain. Empathy without apology. Cassandra sat in silence at the end of the long conference table, hands folded, expression unreadable. The others around her scribbled notes, nodded, whispered, but her focus never broke. Not once. Jasmine was on fire. Not just competent, brilliant. Her voice had that hypnotic rhythm it always had when she truly believed in something, and it made Cassandra's chest feel too tight. Next, Jasmine continued, clicking to the next slide. We launched the first campaign in 30 days. It'll be a multi-phase release, visual vulnerability, controlled interviews, and eventually full public engagement. Not just business publications. We go deeper. Documentary, candid content, real stories, real Cassandra. Cassandra's eyes narrowed. You mean manufactured vulnerability? Jasmine didn't look at her. I mean truth. Nothing about me is digestible for public consumption. That's the point. You've spent years hiding the most human parts of yourself. The world's dying to know what's behind the ice. And if there's nothing there, Jasmine finally looked at her. Then I'll make them believe there is. The room went still. Everyone could feel it, the weight of something dangerous blooming between them. Sloane cleared her throat nervously. Should we take a break? No. Jasmine and Cassandra said in unison, and for a flicker of a second, the tension cracked into something that almost looked like a smile. Almost. An hour later, when the meeting ended and the room emptied, Cassandra remained behind. So did Jasmine. Of course. You're good at this, Cassandra said quietly, her voice laced with both admiration and resentment. I always was. You always knew how to manipulate perception. It's not manipulation if it's the truth. Cassandra, you just never let anyone see it. I showed you. Jasmine walked slowly toward her, folding her arms. No, you showed me fragments. Always half-lit, always conditional. I had to claw my way into your heart and hope you didn't shut the door behind me the moment I got inside. Cassandra looked up, jaw tight. You left before I could. I left because you never gave me a reason to stay. That's a lie. Cassandra snapped. You had every reason. Power isn't a reason. Being needed isn't the same as being loved. And you think I didn't love you? Jasmine exhaled sharply, pain flashing across her face. I think you loved control more, and I wasn't something you could control. Cassandra looked away, but Jasmine didn't stop. You said no one can save you. But the truth is, you don't want to be saved. You want to be worshipped, untouchable, unbreakable. But you were broken, Cassandra. And instead of reaching for me, you shut the world out. Cassandra wheeled toward the window, staring out at the storm clouds still rumbling over Manhattan. I broke my spine, Jasmine. I lost everything. You didn't lose me. Not until you threw me away. Cassandra turned back slowly, her voice low and trembling. You think this chair is the worst thing that's ever happened to me? Jasmine's eyes softened. I think losing yourself was for a moment. Neither of them said anything. The weight of all their unsaid words hung heavy in the room. Then slowly Jasmine walked over and crouched in front of her. Not condescending, not pitying, just human, just there. This isn't about the chair, she said gently. It's about everything you've built around it. The walls, the armor, the silence. Cassandra looked down at her, at the one person who ever saw through her, and for the first time in years, her voice cracked. I don't know who I am without it anymore. Jasmine reached out slow, deliberate, and rested her hand lightly on Cassandra's knee. A touch so simple, so intimate, it made Cassandra's breath hitch. Then let's find her again together. No pretending, no power games, just truth. Cassandra didn't respond, couldn't. Her chest was too tight, her throat too raw. But she didn't pull away either. And that maybe was something. That night, Cassandra stayed late in her office, unable to focus. Her mind kept circling back to Jasmine. Her scent, her eyes, her touch, the things she said, the things she didn't. She hadn't realized how long it had been since someone had touched her without flinching, without asking, without fear. She wheeled into the elevator and descended to the private garage. But as she reached her car, she stopped. Jasmine was there, leaning against a sleek black sedan, arms crossed, illuminated by the soft golden lights like some cinematic illusion. Were you following me? Cassandra asked. No, Jasmine said. I was waiting for what? To see if you'd run. Again, Cassandra swallowed. And if I am? Jasmine stepped closer, the air between them electric. Then I'll chase you again like I always did. Why? Because I never stopped wanting you, and you've spent so long pretending you don't feel the same. It's almost believable. I don't. Cassandra whispered, but her voice betrayed her. Jasmine smiled slow and devastating. Then prove it. And before Cassandra could answer, Jasmine leaned in. Her hand braced lightly on the car door, her lips inches from Cassandra's. Tell me you don't want this, she whispered. Cassandra's heart was pounding so loud she could barely breathe. She didn't move, didn't speak. Jasmine waited. And then softly, she kissed her. A brush of lips, gentle, terrifying, real. Cassandra froze, but only for a moment. Then she kissed her back, a tremble running through her entire body like something had cracked wide open inside her. She pulled away first, gasping. "This doesn't mean anything." "Of course not," Jasmine said, eyes dark, just like Paris didn't. Cassandra stared at her, shaken, alive. "This is a mistake." "Then make it again." And then she was gone again, vanishing into the night like she hadn't just shattered the walls Cassandra spent years building. Cassandra Cass Vance closed her eyes, hands shaking, breath uneven. Her legs didn't move, but something else inside her had. Something that terrified her more than the chair ever had. Cass barely slept. She lay in her penthouse bed, still dressed in the sharp charcoal suit from earlier, staring at the ceiling as the city murmured restlessly below her. Her mind spun, wild and stubborn, looping the moment like a curse. Jasmine's lips against hers. Jasmine's voice whispering, "Then make it again." That kiss hadn't just been a lapse. It had cracked something open. And now everything she'd locked away for 6 years spilled out like blood from an old wound. The next morning, she was colder than usual, sharper. When she arrived at the office, Sloane flinched at the chill in her eyes. "Tell Jasmine to keep her distance today," Cass said without looking up. "No meetings, no one-ones. I have actual work to do." "She's already in your office," Sloane muttered. Cass stopped. "What?" "She said you'd say that. She said to tell you you don't get to run anymore." Cass clenched her jaw. Of course she did. She wheeled into the executive suite, fast, furious, and fully armored. But Jasmine was already there, lounging on the couch like she owned the skyline behind her. "Nice of you to show up," Jasmine said, flipping through a pressed draft on her tablet. "Don't you have an empire to manipulate?" Cass snapped. Jasmine smiled lazily. "I'm right where I need to be. Get out." "No. I'm serious, Jasmine." "So am I." Jasmine stood slow and deliberate, walking to the desk. "Look, if you want to pretend last night didn't happen, fine. Do it. Pretend. But don't confuse control with honesty. You kissed me back." "It was a moment," Cass growled. "Not a declaration. It was real. And I think you've forgotten what that feels like. This is a professional environment. You'll respect boundaries or I'll have you replaced." "Go ahead," Jasmine challenged. "Call your board. Tell them the woman bringing your name back from the dead kissed you, and now you want her fired. Let's see how well that plays." Cass's silence was immediate and suffocating. Jasmine stepped closer, softening her voice. "You think keeping me at arm's length will protect you. But it won't. The only thing it's protecting is the lie that you don't still want me." "This isn't about want," Cass muttered. "It never was. Wanting you was the easy part. It's needing you that ruined everything." "Then let me be needed," Jasmine whispered. "Let me in." Cass's fingers curled tight around the edge of the desk. "Do you know what it's like to wake up every day and remember your body won't do what it used to? That even when you build everything back from ashes, you're still seen as broken." Jasmine didn't hesitate. "Do you know what it's like to watch the woman you love fall into silence and walls and ice, and realize you're no longer enough to melt her?" Cass looked at her, eyes glassy and unreadable. "You always were enough. I just wasn't allowed to need you." The air froze. Then Cass turned away, wheeling to the window, her voice lower than ever. "I let myself feel when we were together. For the first time in my life. And the moment I did, everything collapsed. The accident, the press, the betrayal from inside the company. I lost everything, Jasmine. Everything except the pain. And I blamed you because you were the only soft thing I ever had. The only thing I couldn't control." Jasmine's voice trembled as she stepped closer. "Then stop trying to control it now. Let it hurt. Let it breathe. Let me breathe. Cass turned, and for the first time in years, she looked shattered. I don't know how to forgive you for leaving. Jasmine nodded slowly. Then let's not call it forgiveness. Let's call it beginning. Something shifted between them again. This time, Cass didn't stop it. That night, they ended up in the same penthouse they once called sanctuary. Jasmine sat on the couch barefoot, sipping wine from the same crystal glasses that had once held confessions and arguments and everything in between. Cass watched her from the armchair, legs still, heart not. Do you remember Paris? Jasmine asked. You wore that awful leather coat and yelled at a waiter for bringing sparkling instead of still. It wasn't awful, Cass muttered. It was Dior. Jasmine laughed. It was loud. You loved it. I loved you. Jasmine corrected gently. Cass closed her eyes. Don't say that. Why not? Because it makes it harder. It should be hard if it matters. Cass's voice cracked open, low and small. I never said it back. Jasmine didn't move. I know. I thought it would make me weak, vulnerable. And now Cass opened her eyes and looked at her. Really looked. Now I wonder if saying it would have saved me. Jasmine crossed the room slowly, kneeling beside her again. Say it. Now. It's too late. It's not. I'm here. Cass leaned forward, forehead touching Jasmine's. I loved you, she whispered. God, I loved you. Jasmine closed her eyes, letting the words soak through her skin. I know. I still do. Cass kissed her this time. Not out of fear or anger or confusion, but with something else. Something almost desperate, almost real. They didn't make it to the bedroom. They didn't need to. That night was a reintroduction, a storm of all the pieces they'd both tried to forget. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't smooth. It was messy and slow and full of pauses where guilt lived and apologies hadn't yet been spoken. But it was real. And, for Cass, that was terrifying. In the morning, she woke alone in the bed again. Panic spiked until she heard movement in the kitchen. Jasmine stood at the island barefoot, making coffee like nothing had changed. You stayed, Cass said hoarsely. Jasmine turned. Of course I did. Why? Because this time, I'm not the one running. Cass watched Jasmine move around her kitchen like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like 6 years hadn't passed since the last time she stood there barefoot in the morning light. Her hair was still damp from the shower, falling over her shoulders like spilled ink. Her body wrapped in one of Cass's silk robes that hung too loosely on her, but still managed to look like it had been tailored to her skin. She was humming softly, stirring sugar into 2 mugs of coffee, completely unbothered by the storm she left behind in Cass's chest. You don't get to act like this is normal, Cass finally said, voice rough from sleep and disbelief. Jasmine turned, eyes bright. What's not normal? Morning coffee after a night together. I seem to recall that being a recurring tradition back in the day. That was before. Cass snapped. Before I broke. Before you left. Before we became whatever this is. Jasmine walked over and placed the mug gently on the table beside her. Cass, if we're going to pretend none of this means anything, I need you to lie better. Because last night was a mistake, Cass interrupted. But it didn't come out as sharp as she wanted. It came out cracked. And Jasmine heard it. Right? Jasmine said quietly, stepping back. A mistake you kissed me through. A mistake you begged for. A mistake you still haven't stopped thinking about. Cass closed her eyes, jaw clenched. You make everything messy. No, Jasmine said, voice low. I make everything real. You hate that because real means you don't get to hide. I can't afford to be real, Cass hissed. Not in this world. Not in this body. I show one fracture, and they eat me alive. So, you'd rather rot behind glass than be seen bleeding. Cass slammed her cup onto the table, eyes blazing. You don't understand what it's like to lose control of your own body, to be treated like a warning sign, to hear the whispers about how the company would be better off without its crippled CEO. You left before the worst of it, Jasmine. You don't get to show up now and act like you get to help me heal. Jasmine stood in silence, the air between them blistering. Then softly she said, I don't want to heal you, Cass. I want to love you again. If you let me. The words hit harder than anything else had. Cass's breath caught. Her eyes burned. You should hate me, she whispered. I do sometimes, but it doesn't kill the part of me that still wants to know if there's anything left of us worth fighting for. Cass turned her head, staring out at the city skyline. You're not going to stop, are you? Not until you push me away for good. And maybe not even then. There was something so exasperatingly Jasmine in that answer that it nearly made Cass laugh. Nearly. But she didn't. Instead, she wheeled herself into the bedroom without another word. And Jasmine didn't follow. Not that time. The next few days were a dance of avoidance. In the office, they kept their interactions professional if strained. Jasmine's campaign began to take shape. Interviews scheduled. Mock visuals sent for approval. Social media strategy reworked around more intimate glimpses of Cass's story. But every time Cass tried to throw herself into work, her mind drifted back to that night. That morning, that moment when Jasmine had said love like it still had weight. Then came the interview, a feature piece for a major international publication. Part of Jasmine's first wave of rehumanizing the Vance brand. Cass hated it, but she agreed barely. The journalist was sharp, direct, and eager to dig deeper than numbers and stock projections. She wanted pain, growth, the human beneath the empire. And Cass tried. God, she tried. But the moment the question came, what was the hardest thing to lose? Cass faltered. Her spine stiffened. Her lips pressed together. Her voice betrayed her. And from behind the camera, Jasmine watched it all happen. Watched the armor click into place again. Watched Cass hide. After the interview, Jasmine didn't speak. She just walked fast. Furious. Cass followed against every instinct. Where are you going? She called after her. To breathe. Jasmine bit out. To remember why I ever thought this would work. Jasmine, you want the world to see you. Jasmine snapped, turning on her heel. But only through glass. You want me near you, but never in. You want to be touched, kissed, loved, but only on your terms. Only when it doesn't threaten the narrative you've built around your pain. Cass stepped back like she'd been slapped. You think I don't want this? No, Jasmine said softer now. I think you're terrified that you do. Cass stared at her, breathing hard. What if I am? Jasmine's eyes didn't blink. Then be terrified. But stop pretending you're alone in it. The words lodged deep in her chest, painful and true. That night, Cass showed up at Jasmine's hotel. No warning, no guards, no mask. Just her, raw, exhausted, and vulnerable in a way she hadn't allowed herself to be in years. Jasmine opened the door in a t-shirt and leggings, hair messy, eyes wide. You came. Cass didn't answer. She just stood there looking like the weight of 6 years had finally crushed her. I don't know how to do this, Cass said hoarsely. I don't know how to let someone stay. Jasmine stepped aside. Then let me show you. Inside the room was quiet, warm, safe. Cass sat on the edge of the bed like she was afraid it would reject her. Jasmine sat beside her, not touching, not rushing, just there. I used to believe love made you weak, Cass murmured. That if I let you in again, I'd lose control of my heart, of my image, of everything. And now, Cass turned her head, eyes haunted. Now I think I was wrong about everything. Jasmine reached for her hand slow and soft. Cass let her. For the first time, she didn't flinch. Then stay tonight, Jasmine said. And tomorrow and the day after. Not because you owe me. Not because we're trying again, but because I want you beside me. Not hiding. Not fighting, just here. Cass looked down at their hands. Fingers intertwined like they'd never forgotten how to find each other. What if I don't know how to be this version of me? Then I'll wait, Jasmine said. As long as it takes. And that night, they didn't fall into bed with hunger or regret. They simply lay there side by side in the quiet truth of shared breath and unspoken promises. Jasmine fell asleep first. Cass stayed awake, listening to her breathing, watching the way her chest rose and fell, her face peaceful even after everything. And in the dark, Cass whispered a secret to the ceiling. I'm scared, but I think I'm starting to feel again. And for the first time in years, it didn't feel like weakness. It felt like hope. The morning light spilled through the wide hotel windows like gold poured over the floor. Cass sat upright in bed, already dressed, her blazer sharp against the soft cream sheets. She hadn't slept. Not really. Her body had rested, but her mind had remained alert. Alert to Jasmine's warmth beside her, to the quiet rhythm of her breathing, to the fragile silence they'd allowed to settle between them like a fragile thread. Neither dared to cut. Jasmine stirred beside her, slow and unbothered, stretching with the grace of someone completely unaware of the emotional hurricane wrapped in the woman. 2 feet away. You didn't run, Jasmine murmured, her voice still heavy with sleep. Cass didn't turn to face her. Not yet. Jasmine sat up slowly, letting the sheet fall around her waist. Do you always prepare your escape before sunrise? Or is that just, for me, it's habit? Cass replied, cool and distant. Power doesn't sleep. That sounds exhausting. It is. Jasmine reached across the bed and gently touched Cass's arm. You know you don't have to be here with me. The Ice Queen. The machine. I'm not here for that version of you. Cass looked down at her lap at the faint tremor in her hands. What if I don't know who I am without her? Jasmine slid closer, her fingers brushing the edge of Cass's palm. Then let's find out together. But Cass's walls were already rising again. She pulled away and stood calm, composed, unbothered. The campaign moves to phase 2 this week. I want full oversight of all media edits, and I'll approve the public-facing footage personally. Jasmine blinked, slowly standing as well. So that's it. Back to business. It was always business. Jasmine, you just keep trying to turn it into a love story. Jasmine's eyes hardened. Because it is a love story, Cass. You're just too scared to admit it. I'm trying to save my company. And I'm trying to save you. I didn't ask you to. You didn't have to. That was the thing about Jasmine. She never played fair. She didn't beg. She didn't cling. She simply stood there radiating conviction. While Cass drowned in her own resistance, Cass looked away. You should get dressed. We have a long day. And just like that, the curtain came down again. By afternoon, the office was chaos. Media kits, camera crews, photographers, lighting experts. The first intimate profile video was being filmed. A day in the life feature with behind-the-scenes footage of Cass at work. Every moment was orchestrated to look spontaneous. Jasmine's team had arranged everything down to the brand of coffee in Cass's hand. But despite the flawless script, Cass was unraveling. It started small. A glance too long at the elevator mirror. A forgotten line during a staged boardroom moment. The way her fingers tightened against the wheel when no one was watching. Jasmine noticed every crack. After the final shoot, when the camera shut off and the crew began to pack up, Jasmine walked over and crouched beside Cass's chair. Breathe. I'm fine. No, you're not. It's pressure. That's all. Jasmine reached up and gently touched her shoulder. It's pain and fear, and you don't have to carry it alone. Cass looked at her, eyes dark. You don't get it, Jasmine. This chair isn't what broke me. It's what revealed how easy it is to be forgotten. You think letting you in again is about pride, but it's not. It's about fear. Because if you walk away, this time, I don't know if I'll survive it. Jasmine didn't blink. Then I won't walk away. You did. And I've hated myself for it every day since. Cass's voice cracked. Then why does it still hurt? Because what we had was real. And real things don't vanish. They bruise. They echo. Cass closed her eyes, swallowing hard. Do you know what it feels like to sit in a room full of people and realize not one of them sees you anymore? Not the real you, just the title, the symbol, or worse, the tragedy. Jasmine stood slowly, brushing Cass's hair behind her ear. Then let me see you. Just you. And if I fall again, then I'll catch you this time. Cass's eyes burned, her chest tightening. She wanted to believe her. She wanted to surrender. But surrender had always been the most dangerous act. That night, Cass went home alone. She needed the space, the silence. Her penthouse felt colder than usual, but she told herself it was necessary. Control first, emotion later. She poured herself a drink and stared out at the skyline, wondering if Jasmine was looking at the same horizon. The next morning, she received an email from the board. One of the stakeholders had leaked financial documents to the press suggesting the company had been hiding instability for over a year. Panic ensued, shares dropped, media exploded, and just like that, the campaign turned into crisis management. Cass called for an emergency meeting. Her team gathered, confused and frantic. And when Jasmine entered the room, her calm presence felt like a life raft. What do we know? Cass asked, voice like steel. 3 articles pending release, Jasmine said. 2 already leaked. 1 in Europe, 1 local. Both paint you as incapable, emotionally compromised, and out of touch. They're tying it to your disability. A deadly silence followed. Cass's eyes turned to stone. Who gave them the files? We're investigating. How long until the board pulls my authority? Not long. Then we go public. Cass said, we speak before they do. We own the narrative. Jasmine nodded. Agreed. But it can't be a statement. It has to be you. Raw, real live. Cass froze. You mean on camera? Yes. No scripts. No edits. In the below script, change the character's name, replace Celia Donovan with Cassandra Cass Vance, replace Helena Morrow. With Jasmine Jazzcroft, replace Marcy. With Sloane, replace Mathilde with Beatrice. You telling your story, showing them exactly who they're underestimating. Cassandra looked like she might say no, but then she exhaled long and slow. Set it up. The following evening, Cassandra sat in front of the camera alone. No lighting crew, no stylists, just her, the skyline behind her, and Jasmine behind the lens. She stared into the camera like it was a weapon. And then she began. 3 years ago, I nearly died. A car crash, a spine, a future I never saw coming. I lost my ability to walk. But that wasn't the real injury. The real injury was losing who I was when no one was looking. I became a symbol, a cautionary tale, or worse, a ghost. She paused. Her voice trembled. But I'm still here. Not because I'm unbreakable, but because I was broken and I rebuilt myself. Not perfectly, not cleanly, but honestly. She looked directly at the lens now. And I'm not going anywhere. When it ended, there was silence. Jasmine stood behind the camera, tears in her eyes. You were perfect. I was real. Cassandra whispered. Jasmine walked to her and cubed her face, eyes fierce. And that's all I've ever wanted from you. They didn't kiss. Not yet. But they stood there forehead to forehead, breath shared. The edge between them melting slowly into something dangerous and sacred. Cassandra knew the world would come for her in the morning. But tonight, she had already won the battle that mattered most. She had shown herself, and Jasmine was still here. The video went viral within 3 hours. It wasn't a flashy campaign. There was no background music, no strategic editing, no carefully crafted corporate message. Just Cassandra, raw, composed, unfiltered. And for once, the world didn't see a billionaire in a glass tower or a broken woman in a chair. They saw someone human, someone powerful in her vulnerability. The flood of responses was immediate. Comments poured in by the thousands, some supportive, some skeptical, but nearly all of them watching. The media pivoted from scandal to redemption. ARC headlines changed tones. Investors panicked less. The board stayed quiet for now. Cassandra sat in her office that night in the dark, the only light coming from the massive screen on the wall, replaying the live stream for the third time. She didn't know why she kept watching it. Maybe to prove to herself that she'd actually done it, that she hadn't flinched, that the woman staring into the camera really had been her. Jasmine entered without knocking. She never knocked, never had. Cassandra didn't turn, but she heard the familiar sound of her heels slowing near the couch. "You broke the internet," Jasmine said softly. Not sure that was the plan. It wasn't, but it worked. Cassandra finally looked over her shoulder. Jasmine looked different tonight. Less war paint, more softness, jeans, a loose sweater, hair tied up carelessly. She looked like the woman from their old life, the one who used to lie across Cassandra's piano in Paris and debate philosophy just to annoy her. "Why does being honest feel like surviving a war?" Cassandra murmured. Jasmine walked toward her. "Because you spent your whole life preparing for battle and you finally realized not every enemy is outside you." Cassandra looked back at the screen. "It felt like standing naked in a hurricane and you didn't break. I don't know what comes next." Jasmine smiled. "Then we write the next part." Cassandra's eyes drifted to her face, searching for signs of doubt, but found none. "You were right," she said quietly. "About what?" "That I was afraid. That I still am." Jasmine sat beside her close but not touching. "I'm afraid too." "Of what?" "Of you. Letting me back in just to push me out again." Cassandra's breath hitched. "I don't want to push you away." "Then don't." Cassandra looked at her, lips parting like she might say something, but instead she reached for Jasmine's hand. Slowly, carefully, their fingers laced together like muscle memory. And for the first time in weeks, maybe years, Cassandra didn't feel cold. Not on the inside. "What happens if the board moves against me anyway?" Cassandra asked. "Then we fight them, and if they win," Jasmine turned fully toward her, "then you'll still have me." The clarity of it hit like a thunderclap. Not conditional, not tactical, just truth. "I don't know how to be with you and be this person at the same time," Cassandra confessed, the one who battles every day to prove she still deserves her seat at the table. "Then let me sit with you," Jasmine said. "Not behind you, not ahead." With something in Cassandra's heart fractured wide open again. She didn't weep. She couldn't. But she gazed at Jasmine with such nakedness that it spoke more than sobs ever could. They didn't kiss that evening. They didn't have to. They remained there, silent, near-linked as the gale outside started to still, and the person inside, Cassandra, started to rebuild. The following day brought fresh headlines. The Vance revival. A tycoon's fragility goes viral. Cassandra Vance breaks the quiet. Is this the start of a new age? From marble to flesh. How a chief executive reshaped power. But not all were swayed. At 11:02 a.m., Cassandra got an encrypted message. No name, no sign-off, just a document attached. She clicked it. Pictures, private notes, monetary transfers linked to her private accounts, transfers she didn't approve. Someone inside the firm was crafting a story. Someone near framing her slowly, meticulously. Cassandra's gut went icy. Jasmine found her pacing. Not strolling, pacing, which meant she was pulling herself with her arms, muscles quaking, sweat on her skin, using the bars built into the wall of the office to go. Something she hadn't done in over a year. "What is happening?" Jasmine breathed, concerned, showing I'm still tougher than they believe. Cassandra fell into her seat and swiveled the monitor toward Jasmine. "They're attacking me. Not with gossip, with treachery." Jasmine read the files, expression hardening. Whoever did this, they knew precisely where to strike. "I want the complete roster of all with entry to my accounts, domestic and foreign. I want footage pulled. I want Cassandra. Jasmine reached out and held her arm. Breathe. Cassandra's frame was trembling. They're attempting to delete me. Then we delete them first. Cassandra stared at her. You don't have to remain for this. I'm not remaining. I'm battling. There's a distinction. The fierceness in Jasmine's tone was thrilling. It steadied Cassandra. She agreed. Then let's tear the walls down. They labored through the dark, comparing logs, tracing errors, cross-checking messages. Jasmine made calls in French, German, Italian. Contacts Cassandra had neglected she had. By sunrise, they had reduced it to 3 leaders, all veterans, all males who had applauded Cassandra's authority openly, only to sabotage her in secret. Treason had a specific flavor. Cassandra recognized it well. But now, she wasn't going to accept it. We face them, Cassandra stated on camera. Live streamed, like they did to me. Jasmine raised a brow. That's dangerous. So is quiet. Jasmine grinned. I always admired your daring. This isn't daring, Cassandra whispered. It's combat. They went live the next day. Cassandra rolled into the conference room with Jasmine beside her, cameras on. Reporters brought under the pretense of openness. The betrayers were there, composed, sleek, ignorant of what was arriving, until the display behind them glowed, until Cassandra started to talk. You all demanded fragility. Here it is. You all demanded might. You neglected I had it. And while I was occupied rebuilding myself, a few of you were occupied trying to break what I built. She pointed to the display. The notes showed. The transactions, the treason. The quiet in the room was absolute. One man rose. This is a lie. Sit down, Cassandra said. And he did. That was the instant it changed. Not in the news, not in the exchange, but in her. The flame returned. The person who had once entered a room and made titans kneel wasn't lost. She had merely been waiting for a purpose. That night, back at her apartment, she and Jasmine stood before the glass. They're going to name this a return, Jasmine said. Cassandra faced her. It's not. No. It's an entrance. For the first time. I'm not faking. Jasmine's eyes glistened. You were never faking with me. No. Cassandra said, just concealing. Jasmine moved closer. And now, Cassandra reached out, drew her near, brow to brow, breath mingled. Now, I want you to remain. Not because I'm scared, but because I'm finally not. And now when she kissed Jasmine, it wasn't about need or history or phantoms. It was about now, about all they endured, about all still ahead. The backlash was instant, and Cassandra didn't waver. By the time the clip of her facing the traitors reached the news, public support wasn't just with her. It was fervent. Pundits praised her intensity. Articles called it one of the bravest acts of corporate openness in years. Disability advocates celebrated her as an icon of resilience. But it wasn't the headlines that captivated her. It was Jasmine. The way she navigated the consequences like a law of nature, coordinating releases, managing talks, making silent choices with absolute poise. She didn't request recognition. She didn't stand before the cameras. She stood beside Cassandra, always in conferences, in corridors, in shared looks that lasted longer than they should. But the most perilous part wasn't her proximity. It was how Cassandra no longer wished to fight it. They'd become something again. Not partners, not quite, but no longer opponents, no longer shadows, something in between, something unthinkable. That night, as the metropolis glowed beneath her apartment windows, Cassandra sat in the lounge with a glass of wine in hand and watched Jasmine walk with a phone to her ear, speaking in fluid Italian, her voice hushed and intent. Cassandra didn't comprehend a word, but it didn't matter. She comprehended the person. Every glance, every sigh, every measured motion that revealed just enough without yielding too much. She was stunning. She was sharp and Cassandra couldn't cease watching. When Jasmine finally hung up and glanced over, she caught Cassandra's gaze and stopped. What? I missed this. Cassandra said, us. You being in my world like you fit there. Jasmine stepped slowly to the sofa and sat next to her. Do I? Yes. Cassandra said more swiftly than she intended, then quieter. You always did. Jasmine's gaze scanned hers, something fragile flashing behind them. I didn't believe I'd ever hear that from you again. I didn't believe I'd ever say it. A moment passed. Then Cassandra put down her glass and moved in, fingers brushing Jasmine's cheek. Remain tonight. I intended to. No, Cassandra whispered. I mean remain, as in quit pretending this is brief. Quit acting like we're one crisis from shattering. Again, I don't want to endure you twice. Jasmine's neck shifted as she swallowed. Cassandra, I've done the icy thing, the command, the shield, and all it gave me was a kingdom that almost consumed me. But you're the sole thing that ever made it feel meaningful. I don't need to be the prize after your hurricane, Jasmine said softly. I need to be in it with you. Not only when the world is aflame, even when it's calm. Cassandra nodded. Then let it be calm. Let it be now. And now when they kissed, it wasn't a discussion. It wasn't regret. It was a total yielding. Cassandra let her fingers weave into Jasmine's hair. Jasmine held the base of her neck. It wasn't wild or hasty. It was profound, gradual, worshipful. The kind of kiss you only offer when the next one feels certain. They didn't reach the bedroom. The lounge became their haven. The sofa, the ground, the city shining behind them like a quiet observer. Garments fell in soft stages. Moans replaced disputes. Every motion was known and completely novel. Cassandra traced Jasmine's skin like she was studying text, relearning a tongue she once spoke perfectly. Jasmine murmured her name like a prayer. They didn't talk much after, just the sporadic chuckle, the gentle, stunned sigh of two people who believed they'd forgotten how to fit with one another. And in the morning, for the first time, Cassandra didn't awaken frightened. She awakened warm, embraced complete. Jasmine was still asleep, nestled against her side, one arm over her hip. The silk sheets wound between them, her breath light against Cassandra's throat. And Cassandra understood something frightening and wondrous. She didn't wish to leave. Not from this bed. Not from this sense. Not from her. Near midday, Jasmine woke and looked up at her. You're still here. You're astonished a bit. Cassandra smiled, become accustomed to it. Jasmine rose slightly, sweeping hair from her face. Do you recall when you told me you didn't trust in happy endings? Yes. Have you revised your view?